You ever feel like you're performing in your own life, like you're living, but at the same time, kind of watching yourself live? Like every smile, every laugh, every "yeah, me too" is measured, edited, carefully packaged for someone else's approval. Maybe you've caught yourself agreeing with something you don't actually believe. Maybe you've laughed at jokes that weren't funny, just to avoid silence. Maybe you've said things you didn't mean, done things you didn't want to, just to fit in. And afterward, you felt empty. That emptiness, that's the cost of fitting in. It's subtle. It creeps in like a shadow over your own life. And before you know it, you can't even remember what you actually like, what you actually think, or who you really are. Most of us live like this and don't even notice. We chase approval like it's oxygen. We believe that if we adjust ourselves just a little more, we'll finally belong. And yet, something inside keeps whispering that maybe, just maybe, belonging starts somewhere else. Here's the kicker. Your real life doesn't start when the world finally understands you. It starts when you stop trying to be understood at all. When you stop negotiating yourself to fit the mold. When you finally step into solitude. Because solitude isn't a punishment. It's the doorway to something you've been chasing your whole life without realizing it. Your authentic self. Carl Jung put it perfectly. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And today, we're going to unpack exactly what that means. How stepping away from everyone else, and yes, even the noise in your own head, can finally let you meet the person you were always meant to be. By the end of this video, you're going to start seeing solitude not as loneliness, but as the first step to living your real life. So if solitude is the doorway, the reason we hesitate to walk through it becomes clear. Because before we can even meet ourselves, we have to face the habits we've built to avoid being seen. All those small compromises we've made to fit in, to belong, to not rock the boat. They accumulate. And they cost more than we realize. That's what we're diving into first. The hidden toll of constantly performing, of shaping yourself to meet other people's expectations, of being everything for everyone, except yourself. Think about your day. Not just the big moments, but the tiny ones. Every time you laugh at a joke you don't find funny. Every time you nod in agreement, even though your gut says otherwise. Every time you silence a thought, a desire, or an opinion, because you're scanning the room, measuring the reactions, imagining the consequences. That's fitting in. That's performing. That's editing yourself in real time to meet some invisible standard. And here's the kicker. It's exhausting. Carl Jung said, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. But for most of us, the first part is the trap. We allow what happened, what others want, what the world expects to define us. We choose to become negotiators of ourselves rather than architects. And the cost, mental fatigue, self-doubt, emptiness, the slow erosion of the person underneath. You start noticing patterns. You finish conversations feeling hollow, like you left pieces of yourself on the table. You scroll through life in autopilot, absorbing opinions that aren't yours, picking up preferences that feel borrowed. You think you're fitting in, but really you're shrinking. And the irony is that the approval you chase never fills the void. It only masks it, temporarily. You might recognize the feeling. The subtle anxiety when someone challenges your opinion. The relief when someone validates it. The sense that your identity is negotiable, flexible, dependent on other people's perceptions. You think this is normal. You think this is survival. But it's not. It's costlier than most people realize. And it's not just about social situations. It bleeds into how you make choices every day. Your career, your hobbies, even how you spend your free time. You start bending toward what's safe, popular, or expected, slowly training yourself to ignore your own inclinations. And over time, those inclinations, the things that once excited you, made you curious, made you feel alive, quiet down, almost like they're whispering from a distance, unheard. Fitting in feels like stability, but in reality, it's a slow erosion of the self. It's like living in a house that looks solid on the outside, but every time you compromise your wants, your needs, your instincts, the foundation cracks. And one day, if you never step back and reflect, you realize you've been living in a space that isn't yours at all. Jung reminds us, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And this is where choice matters. You can keep performing, keep shrinking, or you can notice the cost and take the first step toward something that actually belongs to you. So if constantly fitting in comes at such a cost, mental fatigue, lost energy, a hollow sense of self, the question becomes, what do you do about it? You can keep performing, keep shrinking to meet every expectation. That's one path. It's familiar, comfortable in a way, even addictive. Approval is like sugar for the soul, but it never sustains you. The other path? Solitude. Not as punishment, not as exile, not as avoidance. Solitude as a reset, a chance to pause, step back, and finally hear yourself without the static of everyone else's opinions. And that's where things start to get interesting. Solitude has a reputation. People think it's loneliness, sadness, emptiness, but here's the thing. It's none of that. It's a reset button, a chance to strip away all the noise, the social cues, the mirrored behavior, the constant scanning for approval, and see what's left. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And solitude is the first step in claiming that privilege. It gives you the space to notice who you are beneath the expectations. Think about the first weekend you spend entirely alone. No distractions, no obligations, no one to perform for. At first, it's unsettling. You feel restless. Your thoughts loop. Your mind whispers, "What am I supposed to do?" Because for so long, you've been acting according to what others want, what feels safe, or what fits the mold. Suddenly, there's no mold, no audience, and you're left with you. And in that space, small revelations start appearing. You notice how you speak when no one is listening, how your mind wanders toward the things that genuinely interest you, the choices that excite you without needing validation. The things you thought were yours might not be. Some preferences, habits, even values, borrowed from family, friends, social pressure, start falling away. And what's left? A clearer sense of what's authentically yours. It's awkward at first. You might feel bored. You might feel anxious. You might even feel a little guilty, as if stepping away is selfish. But that discomfort is the signal you're doing something right. It's your own self-awareness emerging, breaking through the clutter. Solitude doesn't just give clarity, it gives power. The more time you spend alone, the less influence outside expectations hold over you. You start noticing which choices feel genuine and which ones feel performative. You start to hear your voice more clearly, the one that isn't filtered, rehearsed, or approved. And here's the thing. Most people avoid this process because it feels like staring into a void. But that void isn't emptiness, it's potential. Solitude is the stage before transformation. It's the pause before the click where you finally recognize yourself. And that's where real life begins. So if solitude is the reset button, the next stage is where the real work begins. It's one thing to step back, clear the noise, and see what's left. It's another to actually meet yourself, the unfiltered, unedited version you've been avoiding all along. Because when you finally spend time with yourself, without masks or mirrors, you discover something both liberating and terrifying. You've been living in the shadows of everyone else's expectations, and now the person hiding there is finally stepping forward. Meeting yourself isn't a sudden, cinematic revelation. It's quiet, subtle, almost imperceptible at first. At first, you might notice small things, the way your thoughts drift when no one is around, the choices you make when you don't need to justify them, the activities that make time disappear without you checking your phone or worrying about someone else's judgment. These are the whispers of the real you, the self that has been buried under habit, obligation, and social performance. Carl Jung reminds us, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That's the heart of this section. For so long you've allowed circumstance, people, and expectations to define who you are. Now, in solitude, you start reclaiming choice. Every small decision becomes a test. Am I doing this because it's authentic, or because it's convenient, safe, or expected? And here's where it gets powerful. You start noticing your instincts, your inclinations, your preferences. You realize you've spent years saying yes to things that didn't serve you, to avoid discomfort or judgment. Now, the simple act of saying no to what doesn't feel right carries weight. Saying yes to what does, without explanation, without apology, is revolutionary. It's awkward at first. You may feel self-conscious, even a little guilty, for listening to yourself instead of everyone else. That's natural. Your brain is used to constant social calibration. But that awkwardness is the signal. You're doing the work. You're meeting the self you've been running from. The click comes gradually. A moment where you notice your opinions are your own. Your preferences, your tastes, your style of thinking, they don't need validation. You don't need to adjust them for approval. You're no longer performing. You're present in your own life, fully. And the effect is immediate. You start making choices with a clarity you've never experienced. Decisions feel aligned instead of forced. Conversations feel lighter because you're not anticipating judgment. And you start noticing something else. The world hasn't collapsed because you finally showed up as yourself. Meeting yourself is a process. It's small, it's quiet, but it's transformative. Solitude set the stage, and now you're stepping onto it. Finally, fully, unapologetically. The person who's been waiting your whole life is here, and the life that belongs to you is just beginning to unfold. So you've met yourself. You've started to notice your preferences, your instincts, your voice that isn't edited for anyone else. But here's the hard part. Meeting yourself isn't the same as fully knowing yourself. There's a side of you that's been silenced, ignored, or hidden for years. The shadow. And if you want authenticity, you can't skip this part. You can't just like the parts of yourself that feel easy or comfortable. You have to confront the parts that feel messy, inconvenient, or uncomfortable. That's where the real growth begins. Carl Jung said it clearly. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The darkness isn't some dramatic, scary force. It's the parts of yourself you've ignored to fit in, to be liked, to be accepted. It's the opinions you buried, the anger you silenced, the ambitions you sacrificed, the quirks you hid. It's all the aspects of your personality that never got a voice because giving them one felt risky. Spending time with yourself, truly being alone, forces you to face these parts. And at first it's uncomfortable. You notice the restlessness when you're not performing. You see the habits and thoughts you've been avoiding. You may even feel shame, frustration, or guilt. Why do I feel this way? Why can't I just be normal? But here's the thing. This is exactly where transformation happens. The shadow is not something to eliminate. It's something to acknowledge. When you name it, feel it, and accept it, it loses its power over you. You realize that the parts of yourself you've been hiding aren't threats. They're signals. They're clues to who you really are, what you care about, and what you need to reclaim. You might notice patterns. You've been people-pleasing, avoiding conflict, or suppressing ideas because you feared judgment. That's the shadow speaking, reminding you of compromises you've made. And the choice is yours. Continue shrinking or start integrating those suppressed parts into your life. This stage is awkward and sometimes exhausting. You may stumble, make mistakes, or feel exposed. But every step you take toward conscious awareness builds resilience and clarity. You start making decisions from wholeness rather than avoidance. You start trusting your instincts, even when they contradict external expectations. And here's the punchline. Once you confront the shadow, you discover something incredible. You're no longer defined by what others want, by the masks you've worn, or by the compromises you've made. You're starting to operate from a place of integrity. That's the essence of authenticity. Seeing all of yourself, light and shadow, and choosing to step forward anyway. Solitude prepared you, meeting yourself revealed you, and confronting your shadow completes the foundation. This is where authenticity stops being theoretical and starts becoming lived, moment by moment, decision by decision. So you've met yourself. You've faced the parts you used to hide, the shadow you ignored, the compromises you've made just to fit in. And now something starts to happen. It's subtle at first, a shift you feel in the way you move through the world, the way you speak, the way you make choices. You're no longer performing. You're no longer negotiating for approval. You're becoming unmissable. And here's the kicker. Authenticity has a side effect. Once you start living authentically, something surprising happens. People notice. Not because you're trying to be different, but because you finally are. Carl Jung said it best. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. When you choose yourself consistently, the person in the room changes. Your energy changes. Your presence changes. You stop bending to fit the expectations of others, and suddenly you can't be mirrored or easily categorized. You become uneditable, uncontainable, unapologetically real. This is the side effect of authenticity. It disrupts the patterns around you. Conversations feel different because you speak without filtering for approval. Decisions feel heavier, but clearer, because they're aligned with your values rather than group norms. Even mundane moments, choosing what to eat, how to spend your time, the tone of a message, carry a subtle weight of integrity. And here's what most people don't realize. Authenticity isn't isolating. On the contrary, It attracts the right connections. People who resonate with your true self show up naturally. Those who don't? That's okay too. They were never meant to orbit your life. You're no longer chasing permission. You're choosing alignment. Of course, it can feel uncomfortable. Some people will be surprised, maybe even resistant, because you no longer behave predictably. That's normal. Growth always rattles the old patterns. But this discomfort is temporary. What lasts is the clarity, the energy, the sense of inner freedom that comes from being unapologetically yourself. The real beauty of authenticity is how it changes your relationship with life itself. You start acting from wholeness, not from fear. You start trusting your instincts, even when it's inconvenient. You stop bending to the weight of expectation, and in doing so, you discover a surprising truth. Life is easier, not harder, when you stop performing. Solitude gave you space. Meeting yourself revealed you. Confronting your shadow completed the foundation. And now, authenticity is the natural outcome, and the side effect. The world can no longer define you. You define you. So you've done the work. You've stepped into solitude. You've met yourself. You've confronted the parts of yourself you used to hide. You've embraced authenticity and felt its subtle, transformative side effects. And now comes the quiet revolution. Because the final step isn't dramatic. There's no fireworks. There's no announcement. It's simple. It's silent. And it changes everything. Here's the truth. Your real life doesn't start when the world finally notices you, approves of you, or understands you. It starts the moment you stop negotiating your identity to fit the world's expectations. Carl Jung reminds us, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that's exactly what's happening now. After solitude, self-discovery, and shadow work, you step into the world differently. You walk into rooms feeling anchored, not evaluated. You speak without scanning for reactions. You choose without asking for permission. And the strange, powerful thing? Life doesn't punish you. The world doesn't collapse. It adapts naturally. Because when you operate from wholeness rather than performance, your presence changes the energy around you. People respond differently, not necessarily in ways you expect, but in ways that reflect the clarity you now carry. Conversations feel lighter because you're no longer pretending. Decisions feel sharper because they align with what you truly value. Even your daily habits, the small choices you make when no one is watching, feel energized and purposeful. And here's the kicker. This quiet revolution isn't just about you. It subtly transforms your relationships, your work, your environment. People start recognizing authenticity because it resonates with a part of themselves they've ignored. Connections shift naturally. Those who align stay close, and those who don't drift away. You stop forcing belonging, and suddenly, belonging comes to you. The most important realization? The opposite of belonging isn't solitude. It's betraying yourself to gain approval. Solitude gave you the space to see yourself. Meeting yourself revealed what's real. Confronting your shadow gave you integrity. And now, authenticity allows your life to unfold quietly, powerfully, without compromise. The first step into this new life is subtle, almost imperceptible. But it's irreversible. Once you've experienced it, you can't go back to the hollow version of yourself who lived for everyone else. The world may never fully understand you, and that's fine. Because now, you understand yourself. And that's the beginning of your real life. Solitude isn't running away from life. It's running toward a life that finally belongs to you. A life where you make choices because they feel real, not because someone else expects them. A life where your energy isn't drained trying to mirror everyone else, but amplified because you're aligned with yourself. A life where you can say no without guilt, yes without justification, and live in a way that feels genuinely yours. If this video hit you, take a moment to reflect. What's one small step you could take today to connect with yourself? Drop a comment below and share it. I want to hear what your first step toward authenticity looks like. If you want more content like this, reflections, tools and ideas to live a life that's truly yours, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Start today. Take the step. Show up for yourself and watch your life begin.